Imagine you wake up and find that the world has decided to test your patience at every turn. You spill your coffee on your clean shirt, your car refuses to start, and when you finally get to work, your boss criticizes a project you spent weeks finishing. Usually, these events would ruin your day and leave you feeling angry or defeated because you feel like a victim of your circumstances. Picture this: a version of yourself that remains as steady as a mountain while the storm of life rages around you. You look at the coffee stain and simply change your shirt. You handle the car trouble with calm logic, and you listen to the criticism without feeling a single spark of resentment. Today we explore 10 principles of Stoic philosophy that will help you build this kind of unshakable mental strength. By the end of this video, you will have a practical toolkit to ensure that no person and no event can ever take away your peace of mind. Stay with me as we explore how to become truly invincible. To understand how to become unaffected by the world, we first have to look at how we normally process our experiences. Most of us live in a state of constant reaction, where our happiness depends on things going exactly our way. If people are nice to us, we feel good. But if they are rude, we feel bad. If the economy is strong, we feel secure. But if it dips, we feel anxious. This way of living is like being a small boat on a rough ocean with no rudder, because you are letting every wave toss you around. Stoicism offers a way to build a rudder and a heavy keel so that you can navigate any weather without capsizing. The ancient Stoics were not people who suppressed their emotions or lived like robots, but rather people who understood that their internal state was the only thing they truly owned. They realized that most of the stress we feel does not come from the events themselves, but from the stories we tell ourselves about those events. When you learn to change those stories, you change your entire life. This is not about being cold or distant, but about being so grounded in your own reason and character that the chaos of the world becomes nothing more than background noise. As we go through these principles, try to think of a specific situation in your life right now that is causing you stress, and see how each idea can be applied to solve it. The first principle is the dichotomy of control, which is the most important foundation of the entire Stoic system. Epictetus wrote that some things are up to us and some things are not up to us, and the secret to a happy life is knowing the difference. Think about a time you were stuck in a massive traffic jam when you were already running late for an important meeting. You probably felt your chest tighten, your face get hot, and your hands grip the steering wheel until your knuckles turned white. In that moment, you were suffering because you were trying to control the traffic, which is something completely outside of your power. The Stoic approach is to realize that the traffic is not your problem to solve, but your reaction to it is. You can control your thoughts, your intentions, and your own actions, but you cannot control the weather, the economy, or the moods of other people. When you stop demanding that the world behave the way you want it to, you suddenly find a sense of freedom that most people never experience. You start to put all your energy into your own character and your own choices, because that is where your power actually lies. If you spend your life worrying about what people think of you, you are giving them the keys to your happiness. If you focus only on acting with integrity, then it does not matter if someone misjudges you, because you know you have done what is right. This principle teaches you to draw a circle around yourself and recognize that everything outside that circle is not your concern. The second principle is the concept of the inner citadel, which is the idea that your mind is a fortress that no one can enter unless you let them. Marcus Aurelius wrote that you have power over your mind, not outside events, and when you realize this, you will find strength. Imagine you are at work and a colleague says something incredibly mean about your performance in front of the whole team. In that moment, it feels like they have attacked you and hurt your feelings, but the Stoic view is that they have only made sounds with their mouth. The hurt does not come from their words, but from your decision to let those words inside your fortress. You have a space between what happens to you and how you respond, and in that space, you are completely free. You can choose to see the colleague as someone who is perhaps having a bad day or who is struggling with their own insecurities, which allows you to feel pity rather than anger. Your inner citadel is built through the daily practice of logic and reason because you remind yourself that your worth is not tied to the opinions of others. When you strengthen this fortress, you become someone who can walk through a crowd of angry people and remain perfectly calm because you know that their chaos cannot touch your character. You are the only person who can truly harm your soul by choosing to act with vice or by letting your emotions run wild. As long as you keep your inner citadel secure, you remain at peace regardless of what is happening in the streets outside. The third principle is negative visualization, which sounds like a pessimistic exercise but is actually a powerful tool for gratitude and resilience. Seneca wrote that the man who has anticipated the coming of troubles takes away their power when they arrive. We usually spend our lives trying to ignore the possibility of bad things happening because we think that thinking about them will make them come true. Stoics do the opposite by taking a few moments each day to imagine losing the things they value most. Picture your life without your phone, your car, your job, or even your health. While this might seem dark, it actually does two great things for your mental state. First, it makes you appreciate what you have right now because you realize that everything you own is on loan from fate and could be taken back at any moment. When you look at your partner after imagining life without them, you treat them with more kindness and presence. Second, it prepares you for the inevitable challenges of life so that you are not shocked when they happen. If you have already imagined how you would handle losing your job, you will not panic if you actually get laid off because you have already rehearsed your response. You will be able to say to yourself that you knew this was a possibility and you are prepared to handle it with dignity. This practice removes the element of surprise from misfortune, and since surprise is what makes pain hurt the most, you become much more difficult to rattle. The fourth principle is the understanding that your perception is a choice, and that events are neutral until you label them. Marcus Aurelius wrote that if you are pained by any external thing, it is not the thing itself that disturbs you, but your judgment of it, and it is within your power to wipe out that judgment now. Think about a rainy day when you had planned to go for a hike. You might label the rain as bad or a nuisance because it ruins your plans, but the rain itself is just water falling from the sky which is necessary for the trees and the grass to grow. The rain has no intention of hurting you, and it is only your expectation of sunshine that creates your frustration. You can apply this to everything in your life, including the way people treat you. If someone cuts you off in traffic, you can label it as a personal insult and get angry, or you can label it as a person in a hurry who made a mistake and continue listening to your music. When you realize that you are the one who provides the meaning to every event, you realize that you can choose to see everything as either neutral or as an opportunity for growth. This does not mean you ignore reality or pretend that bad things are good, but it means you stop adding unnecessary layers of suffering on top of the facts. A flat tire is just a flat tire. It is not a sign that the universe hates you or that you are having a terrible week. By sticking to the facts and removing the emotional labels, you keep your mind clear and your heart light. The fifth principle is Amor Fati, which is a Latin phrase that means a love of fate. This goes beyond just accepting what happens and moves into actually embracing it. Marcus Aurelius wrote that a blazing fire makes brightness and fortune out of everything that is thrown into it. Most of us spend a lot of energy wishing things were different than they are, saying things like, if only I had more money, or if only my boss were nicer. This resistance to reality is the source of almost all our mental pain because we are fighting against something that has already happened. Amor Fati teaches you to treat every event, whether it feels good or bad, as exactly what you needed in that moment to grow. If you fail at a business venture, you don't just accept it. You love the fact that it happened because it taught you lessons you couldn't have learned any other way. You see every obstacle as fuel for your character, just like a fire uses wood to get hotter and brighter. When you love your fate, you become invincible because nothing can happen to you that you won't find a use for. You stop being a victim of circumstance and start being the architect of your own growth. This shift in perspective turns every challenge into a gift and every setback into a stepping stone. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you start asking, "How can I use this to become better?" And that question changes the entire dynamic of your life. The sixth principle is Memento Mori, which means remember that you will die. While many people find the thought of death terrifying, the Stoics used it as a way to clarify their priorities and eliminate trivial worries. Seneca wrote that we are dying every day because every hour that passes is an hour that we no longer have. When you keep the shortness of life in the front of your mind, you stop getting upset about small things like a slow internet connection or a rude comment from a stranger. You realize that your time is the most precious resource you have, and wasting it on anger or resentment is a form of madness. If you knew you were going to die tomorrow, you wouldn't spend your last hours complaining about the weather or arguing with people on social media. You would focus on what truly matters, like showing love to your family and finding peace within yourself. By remembering your mortality, you bring that same level of focus and clarity to every day of your life. It helps you stay grounded when things are going well so that you don't become arrogant, and it gives you hope when things are going poorly because you know that this too shall pass. Death is the ultimate reminder that we do not own anything in this world, and that our only true possession is the way we choose to live our lives right now. This principle encourages you to live fully and with purpose because you understand that every moment is a miracle that will never happen again. The seventh principle is that the obstacle is the way, which is a powerful shift in how we view problems. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the impediment to action advances action, and what stands in the way becomes the way. Usually, when we run into a problem, we see it as a reason to stop or as a sign that we are on the wrong path. Stoicism teaches us that the problem itself provides the opportunity to practice a specific virtue. If you are dealing with a difficult person at work, they are not just an obstacle to your productivity. They are the way for you to practice patience and empathy. If you are struggling with a difficult task, the struggle is the way for you to build discipline and focus. Every challenge you face is like a weight in a gym. It is the very thing that allows you to build the muscle of your character. Without obstacles, we would remain weak and untested, like a ship that never leaves the harbor. When you adopt this mindset, you stop dreading problems and start looking for the lessons hidden within them. You realize that the best version of yourself is forged in the heat of difficulty, not in the comfort of ease. This principle allows you to stay calm during a crisis because you are busy looking for the opportunity that the crisis has created. You become a person who can take any situation and turn it into a victory for your personal development. The eighth principle is guarding your focus and being careful about what you let into your mind. Seneca wrote that we are often more frightened than hurt, and we suffer more in imagination than in reality. In our modern world, we are constantly bombarded with news, social media, and opinions that are designed to make us feel anxious or angry. If you spend all day consuming content that highlights the worst parts of humanity, you cannot expect to have a peaceful mind. The Stoics believed that we must be very selective about what we pay attention to because our thoughts are shaped by the information we consume. You wouldn't let a stranger walk into your house and dump trash on your floor, so why do you let people dump mental trash into your brain through your phone? Protecting your peace means setting boundaries with technology and with people who drain your energy. It means focusing on the present moment rather than worrying about a future that hasn't happened yet or a past that cannot be changed. When you narrow your focus to what is right in front of you and what you can actually do something about, the noise of the world starts to fade away. You find that you have much more energy to put into your own goals and your own happiness when you stop giving it away to things that don't matter. The ninth principle is the practice of voluntary hardship, which is about choosing to be uncomfortable so that you no longer fear discomfort. Seneca suggested that we should set aside a few days every month to live on the simplest food and wear the roughest clothes, asking ourselves if this is what we were so afraid of. We often spend our lives chasing comfort, thinking that the perfect bed, the perfect temperature, and the perfect meal will make us happy. However, this makes us fragile because we become terrified of losing that comfort. By intentionally putting yourself in difficult situations, like taking a cold shower or skipping a meal, you prove to yourself that you are stronger than your physical cravings. You learn that you can be happy even when things aren't perfect, and this takes away the power that external circumstances have over you. If you know you can survive and be content with very little, you won't be as stressed about the possibility of losing your wealth or your status. This practice builds a deep sense of self-reliance and confidence because you know that you are not a slave to your environment. It also makes you appreciate the comforts you do have much more when you return to them. You realize that true peace comes from within, not from the plushness of your surroundings, and this makes you much harder to manipulate or upset. The 10th principle is sympathia, or the idea that we are all part of a larger whole and that we have a duty to be kind and helpful to others. Marcus Aurelius wrote that what is not good for the beehive is not good for the bee. Stoicism is often misunderstood as a philosophy of isolation, but it is actually very focused on our social responsibilities. When you realize that everyone you meet is struggling with their own battles, and that we are all connected by our shared humanity, it becomes much harder to be angry at people. You start to see the person who is being rude to you as a brother or sister who is simply lost or confused. This perspective allows you to respond with kindness even when you are treated poorly, not because the other person deserves it, but because your own character demands it. Being useful to others is one of the best ways to find meaning and stability in your own life. When you focus on how you can contribute to the world rather than what you can get from it, you stop worrying so much about your own minor problems. You find a sense of purpose that transcends your individual circumstances, and this gives you a rock-solid foundation that the world cannot shake. By acting with justice and benevolence, you align yourself with the natural order of things, and this brings a sense of harmony that is much more lasting than the temporary pleasure of getting your own way. Now that we have covered these 10 principles, it is important to think about how to actually use them when you wake up tomorrow morning. Stoicism is not a set of ideas you just think about. It is a practice that you have to live every single day. A good way to start is by doing a morning review where you look at the day ahead and anticipate the challenges you might face. You can say to yourself that today you will likely meet ungrateful, violent, or treacherous people, but that none of them can hurt you because you will not let their actions touch your character. This sets a mental guard that protects you throughout the day. When something goes wrong, instead of reacting immediately, take a deep breath and ask yourself which of the 10 principles applies to the situation. Is this something you can control? Are you adding a label to it that doesn't need to be there? Is this an opportunity to practice a virtue? By creating this small gap between the event and your reaction, you regain your power. You will find that the more you do this, the more natural it becomes, and the less you find yourself getting swept away by your emotions. It is like training a muscle. At first, it is difficult and you might fail often, but with consistency, you will become mentally stronger than you ever thought possible. In the evening, it is helpful to do a reflection on your day, much like Seneca and Marcus Aurelius did in their journals. Ask yourself what you did well, what you did poorly, and what you could do differently tomorrow. Do not judge yourself harshly, but rather look at your actions with the calm eye of a scientist observing an experiment. If you lost your temper, acknowledge it and try to understand what trigger you missed so that you can be better prepared next time. If you stayed calm in a difficult situation, give yourself credit for that progress. This daily cycle of preparation and reflection is what turns the philosophy from a set of rules into a part of who you are. You will start to notice that things which used to bother you no longer have any impact on your mood. You will find that you are more present with your friends and family because you aren't stuck in your head worrying about work or the future. You will become a source of strength for the people around you because they will see your steady hand and your calm heart, and they will want to know how you do it. This is the true power of the Stoic mindset. It doesn't just change your life, it changes the way you interact with the entire world. These 10 principles offer a path to a life of peace and strength that is not dependent on luck or circumstances. We have looked at the dichotomy of control, the inner citadel, negative visualization, the choice of perception, Amor, Fati, Memento, Mori. The obstacle is the way, guarding your focus, voluntary hardship, and our connection to others. By applying these ideas, you can ensure that you are no longer a victim of the world, but a person who is truly free and unshakable. Remember that this is a process, and that every day is a new chance to practice being the person you want to be. If you found these insights helpful, subscribe and hit the notification bell to join our community and continue your growth with us. Your support helps us share these timeless truths with more people who are looking for a way to find peace in a chaotic world. Take one of these principles today and try to apply it to a single situation, and notice how your feeling of control and calm begins to grow. You have the power to be happy right now, regardless of what is happening around you, so keep going and stay focused on your character. To learn more about how to master your mind and live a better life, check out the video on the screen, and I will see you in the next one.